What's up, guys? We are the Duderes, and this is our weekly review show, Anime Overload, where we talk about this season's anime episode by episode and much more. My name is Todd.
And I'm Jerremy.
Before we get started, I just want to let you guys know that even though we're doing audio only now, in the coming weeks we will be doing video. So this is kind of a temporary thing until we get things set up, so look forward to that. Also, this episode is going to be extra long because we're going to be covering 3 weeks of episodes, worth of episodes in all our shows. So about 2 or almost 3 episodes for every show. So this one is going to be a little longer than our regular Anime Overload episodes.
Alright, so what's on the bill today, Todd?
Today we're going to be talking about a plethora of shows, including Assassination Classroom, Rolling Girls, Absolute Duo, Durarara Season 2. What else, Jeremy? I'm drawing a blank here.
KanColle. Alright, kicking off our review segment here, we have Assassination Classroom, episodes 1 and 2. We start off the episode with episode 1. We learn that the Earth is being threatened by this powerful creature who pretty much just shows up and destroys the moon. Well, about 70% of it. And it's left in this, permanent crescent shape. We are introduced with what we can likely see right now as our lead character, Nagisa from Class 3E, or as it's called, the End Class. And he goes to this really prestigious junior high, but he is in the worst class of the worst, where they send all of the kind of hopeless students to. Well, for whatever reason, they've got this weird alien that wants to be their teacher, with the goal that along with the assistance of the government, that the class has to kill him by next March, otherwise he'll destroy the Earth. And you see their exploits within the first few moments of the episode starting, when Koro-sensei, as they name him later, starts to take role in the class. Everybody immediately stands up, draws guns, and starts shooting at him. Now, everybody has these special weapons, whether it be these guns, shooting these BB pellets, which will only harm Koro-sensei, as well as they have these rubber knives. Again, will only harm Koro-sensei. And they all have an acronym on them, which is SAAUSO, which stands for Special Arms Against Unidentified Slimy Octopus.
It's good.
And as they quickly find out, he can travel at his maximum speed of Mach 20. So they just utterly fail at trying to shoot him in the classroom. And after they've all expended all their ammo and everything, he just simply tells them to sit down and starts teaching the class. So, Todd, what did you think of the episode? As kind of an introduction to the series.
I thought it was really good. I probably would go as far as to say give this episode a 4 out of 5. I think it's got a lot of personality to it. I do like Koro-sensei a lot. I think he's really a cool character. I like the concept in general. I think it's just a lot of fun. The class seems interesting, and I hope we, over the next few episodes, get to know them a little bit more, because, even the opening goes as far as to naming each and every one, so I'm hoping, the whole class kind of, we get to know everybody, just to make it, an even more enjoyable series. But, as for episode 1, art and animation was stellar. I don't know, I never really, I guess, pay attention to the music very much, so I really can't say anything there. I enjoyed the plot a lot. I do like what they've got here, because I think it's really funny and interesting. And again, I can't say enough about Koro-sensei. I think he's super interesting and super funny. But yeah, I think as a first episode, I think it was solid for the most part. They did some backtracking with explaining what was going on and stuff, and other than that, yeah, I think it was pretty good.
I mean, as far as giving this episode an overall score, I think a 4 is a really good thing. As for overall of the episode, a 4 is a great score. I mean, on terms of originality for just the premise of this series so far, it's definitely a 5. How many other series do we see where, the characters, their task is to kill their teacher? You know, I mean, we've seen tons of series where, everybody's out for revenge or, to hunt down this one person again for revenge or, you know, but, never something that's. I've never seen, I don't recall ever seeing a series that was funny, kind of lighthearted, surrounded by this theme of killing somebody. It's kind of just this mixed ball of stuff, and it's kind of weird to see. But it's really, really funny. I mean, and as far as the music goes in this particular episode, I felt that it kind of took a backseat to everything else. And that's probably a good thing. I mean, the opening theme and the ending thing, they're not bad by any means. I think they fit the theme of the series very, very well.
I think this show kind of has some shades of Baka and Test in it, to be honest, because of the the 3E thing and the students being not smart and all that stuff. So I think that's kind of a charm that at least touched me in a way. I'm like, oh, I think I'm gonna especially like this because Baka and Test has been one of my favorite series of all time for years. I just loved it.
I kind of got the same vibe. I really felt that Nagisa was kind of a character that would have fit really, really well in Baka and Test. Simply, he's, we don't know if he's really smart or not smart, but he's really just kind of clever.
Yeah, and what I'm scared is that he doesn't really have a lot of personality. A lot of the other class seems to have a lot, while he doesn't. He kind of seems to be like a dramatic, I don't know, wet towel, or stick in the mud. And I'm like, man, I really hope this doesn't continue. I hope he's a little bit more interesting than this, quiet kid.
And unfortunately, that doesn't really seem to move forward with his personality going into episode 2, where he tries to help, his close friend, Tomohito, who makes his attempt at episode 2 to kill Koro Sensei with a baseball covered in the, the anti-Koro Sensei BBs. And this, this whole incident in episode 2, again, shows Nagisa's resourcefulness as he, is constantly taking notes about what Koro Sensei does and his different personalities and traits and things like that. And I think that's kind of where his strength as a character is, but again, he's very bland as a personal. I think in episode 2, we really just get more character development-wise with Koro Sensei that on some level, we get a little flashback of his, what can only be assumed as his past with a dying woman, and her talking to him about being a teacher. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But I really feel this was just more development for Koro Sensei as he goes out of his way to help Tomohito be a better baseball player.
Yeah. This episode started out in a way I'm like, oh no, assassin class, ass class as some people call it. It started in a way that I was really scared, and I'm like, please don't do this, of being over dramatic. Like piano music in the background, long, characters looking in the distance and all that shit. And I'm like, don't do this. You're supposed to be funny. And then all of a sudden, it takes an immediate 180 turn of hilariousness and does not go back. And I'm just thinking, thank you, because I don't want this series to be dramatic. I mean, sure, it's okay if it goes there every now and again, but other than that, I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be this batshit crazy comedy, and it definitely delivered in episode 2. I thought it was really, really, really funny about what the students were doing, and they were running towards him and telling him that that they wanted some of his shaved ice, and then they pulled out guns and shit.
Yeah, they all tried to stab him.
And then he tied himself up to be a piñata, and everybody was trying to hit him and shit. Like, that was, it was really good stuff, and I think episode 2 was even more of an improvement on episode 1.
And, ending with the end of episode 2, we get a hint at this redheaded male student who apparently was suspended at some point, and he's going to be returning to the class with the mission of assassinating Koro Sensei. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But unfortunately, that's going to have to wait. That it was announced that due to recent circumstances involving, Japan, that Assassination Classroom was placed on um, a hiatus, was postponed until further notice. So, well, hopefully we won't have to wait too long to get episode 3 and beyond.
Yeah. It's a real shame. Honestly, I was really enjoying Assassination Classroom, and it was really one of my top look forward to series of the season. So it's definitely a shame to hear. I really do hope it comes back soon. I mean, I think if it does, it's going to be the start of next season, which again is really unfortunate, and that's not for another 2 months, or a month and a half rather. But yeah, I mean and since it's on hiatus, and I think we can go this far, I kind of want to predict the ending of Assassination Classroom and say that Koro Sensei is clearly the only one, and it's been emphasized a lot that Koro Sensei is the only one that has cared about these students ever. No one has actually ever cared about them. They're supposed to kill Koro Sensei, but now they're going to start slowly realizing that he is a great guy, he is a great teacher, and that they actually do not want to kill him. And I can see them possibly reasoning with Koro Sensei and saying, please don't destroy the moon, because they don't want to kill him, because they see him more of as a friend and a mentor than an assassination target.
I think that's really the kind of the logical outcome to where this series would go. Though then again, we may be completely blindsided with the actual ending. They may very well, they may go the route where they try to reason with him and get him to not destroy the Earth, and he may just tell them that that's not possible. Maybe there is another underlying reason that we have yet to be introduced to.
Well, there's a lot of underlying reasons that they have not given us yet.
I know, but I mean, just in general, there may be another reason why he wants to destroy the Earth, and it may not be something that can really be reasoned with. So we'll just have to hang in there and see how it turns out.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on the opening and ending?
The opening of the show, the opening theme, just the animation itself, really reminded me of the ending for The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. Just the way with the dance.
Yeah.
That's what it really kind of reminded me of. The ending, I didn't think it was bad at all. I've seen a lot worse. It just was an ending to me. I mean, I don't really have anything good or bad to say about it. So
I like the opening a lot. I like the song because it's like the students singing, and I thought a lot of people are really turned off by the jumping thing, but I think it's actually a lot of fun, and one of the more interesting openings I've seen in quite a while. As for the ending, I think the ending has a really nice song, and I think the aesthetic of it is really nice on the chalkboard, and then once it zooms back, it's actually Koro Sensei's face. I think it's a really nice ending. I think it's one of the better ones I've seen of the season, so good stuff there as well. So what was your score of episode 2?
I think episode 2, I would give it another 4. I mean, as far as, because we get a lot more development of Koro Sensei, and just a tiny bit of the other characters, but we get to learn the background of, like Tomohito, and figure out where he came from, where it is, and we find out that he really, really misses playing baseball, because he can't be in a baseball club anymore because Class E's not allowed to, because, they isolate them in that school because, they're supposed to focus on studying, as he says.
I would have to agree. I would definitely give it a 4 as well. I think the comedy was really strong. I think the comedy continues to hit really well in this show. And like you said, the development was one of the really strong points, that not only did they talk about this, one random student, they also, gave some development for Koro Sensei, and, it was nice. And I think the main character's, personality being quiet and stuff, the more I think about it, the more it's understandable, because he's the one that's taking notes and pretty much studying Koro Sensei, so he needs to be quiet and kind of in the background. So I guess in a way I can understand it and kind of let it go. So But other than that, yeah, I would definitely give that a 4.
I would just hope
4 out
that
of 5.
I would just hope that personality trait doesn't stay static throughout the whole series. I'd like to see him kind of, come out of his shell a little bit, as to, lack of a better term there.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly see. Next on the list is KanColle.
Glorious, glorious KanColle. Todd, what do you think of KanColle so far?
I think KanColle, I like the idea of it just because it's, to be honest, pretty unique, even though it's been done before, but it's still, unique, and, I'm pretty much just watching cute girls do cute things, and that's what I'm here for, and that's really what I'm getting so far.
All right. So, we are 3 episodes in to KanColle. We've got a 4th episode coming out here pretty quickly. But with episode 1, we see our main character, Fubuki, arrive at the naval base. She is the newcomer to the 3rd Torpedo Squad. She is introduced to Mitsuki and the rest of her squadron. And after they exchange greetings and whatnot, they decide to go spy on the carriers, Akagi, and the other girl, as they're shooting arrows, which they turn into airplanes after they're fired, which is pretty awesome. After spending some time with the other members of her fleet, Fubuki and whatnot, and them, they're called to go into battle. And we learn that Fubuki has never been in a battle before, much like the other fleet girls. And she's really, really terrible at just, being on the water. And the way that they travel on the water is really kind of interesting. It's almost like they're skating. So she is always falling over and whatnot. And we learned that, again, she had never been to battle. And, their whole job was to kind of be a recon in this episode and figure out exactly where all the enemy was and whatnot. And, and then fall back and let everybody else take care of it. Unfortunately, things don't go quite as planned, and Fubuki is almost annihilated by one of the enemy. And at the last moment, she's saved by Akagi and the other carrier girl. And that's the first episode, pretty much right there, in just a little bit of a nutshell. I thought it was a great introduction to the series. I like the fact that Fubuki as a character, she's very clumsy. Even when she's not on the water, she's still very clumsy. But she's one of those super overly optimistic people that everything is going to be okay and everything can get better, which is really kind of refreshing in the sense of what this world is and how, things are kind of dark. So it's interesting to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as far as, all the characters that we're introduced to a lot of characters in this episode. The only thing that I really am not liking is the whole Admiral thing. The Admiral exists. They talk about the Admiral all the time. But anytime anything's done with the Admiral, it's either off-screen or it's the viewer is looking through the Admiral's perspective. And the Admiral never speaks. You'll get weird kind of camera pans up and down from he or she nodding. But that's it. It would have been nice to see the Admiral as a character kind of, exist as a character.
I think that's one of the more touchy subjects about this show, to be honest. I expected him to be a character at least, and I think he should have been a character. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? We eventually could see him at a dramatic moment, but it's really hard telling. I think it's because they kind of wanted to create their own story with this, because I think they were given the freedom, and they really do have the freedom with this show to make what they want to with this. And if they want to focus more on the ships rather than, because they could have gone 2 routes. They could have gone, the main character is the Admiral, and he has a harem of ship girls running around, all that shit. The other one is the current one we're on, which is focusing on a group of ship girls, which is kind of more so like, I guess, strike witches, for example, is a pretty good example. Yeah. So they could have gone either route, and they decided to go for the latter.
What are you gonna score this episode?
Episode 1?
Yes.
Episode 1, it was a good episode. I think it was a good introductory to the world. Nice introductory to the main character, and she immediately does have issues. She's not perfect. So that's a little bit refreshing. I mean, even though she's, optimistic and stuff, but really that's what the show's all about. It's about cute girls, plain and simple. And that's why I would say the majority of people are watching. Other people are watching just to spite it, but that's another topic altogether. I think this, the more I think about the season as a whole, I would say KanColle does have the best art in the winter of 2015. I just think it looks so nice, so clean, so crisp. It just looks great. Even though they do switch to 3D sometimes, which I don't think is the best looking thing in the world, still I think it does have the best art. I would say animation, but I don't know. That might go to Assassination Classroom or Rolling Girls. I don't know. I'd have to look at it more, but I just think personally the art appeals to me the most. The Rolling Girls, it's really, really close, but I just think the clean look that KanColle has just looks really quality. The music was really nice too, very naval. Really liked that. Other than that, good stuff. I think I was gonna give it. I think it had a good amount of action too with it. I believe it's been it's been 2 weeks since I've watched it, but I think I would have given it like a 3.5 or close to a 4. I think it was a solid episode.
I would give the episode a 3.5, and not to drag the episode down or anything like that. I really like this series so far. My only concern with this particular episode, and they seem to fix it in the following episodes, is they crammed way too much into the first episode. I felt that, it really should have been just more of an introduction to her and the other characters. But no, they cram in the introduction and then immediately cram in a battle for the action sequence of the first episode. I really think that they could have set up for that battle in the first episode, but I really feel like it should have been in the second episode.
Yeah. I think they wanted to kick off some action, and I don't blame them. I definitely wanted to see some action while I was there. The transformation scene looked really nice, too.
I was wondering how they were going to do that. That was kind of one of my big questions looking into this show. And I was really hoping it wasn't going to be, I'm going to wave some, magic wand anchor thing, and, and I was like, oh no, please don't be some real magic girl transformation stuff. And it's not. It's just, they're basically having, pieces of boats strapped to them by this, big mechanism, and it's just, it's like Iron Man putting on his armor.
Yeah. It was really nice. I really liked it, and I am enjoying the way they're spinning this tale. I like it. I like how they're kind of taking this series, kind of making it their own. But episode 1 was pretty good. But episode 2, what do you think?
Well, episode 2, we see Fubuki, deciding that she wants to be, basically she was just trying to. She looks at Akagi as kind of her role model and decides she wants to be as strong as her, and eventually she wants to be, in the same fleet as her. She wants to be her escort. So she is putting herself through all these different training sessions, target practice, balancing, different confidence boosting, as, the three sisters attempt to help her, do all these. And it gets to the point where they've actually end up keeping her up for an entire day, and she falls asleep in class. They eventually wake her up just to drag her out to do some more stuff. But we find out that, she's not above kind of, cheating in order to help her friends. We see Yutadachi, she's not exactly the best student. And for not doing her homework, she's only given more homework. Well, they ask her, the teacher, Ashigara, asks her a question about torpedoes, which Fubuki decides to whisper to her in order so she'll get the answer right and get half her homework taken away. And then they proceed to ask Fubuki a question about torpedoes, which she blows everybody away by the answer that she gives and how it's overly correct. And then she just kind of she goes out to try to talk to Akagi to get some more inspiration for her training and whatnot. Find her that she's being repaired, and it's kind of weird that they've got this repair facility for the girls, and when you see Akagi sitting in it's basically a bathhouse, and you find Akagi sitting in this tub with a timer above her head that's 15 days, something like that, above her, and then out of nowhere there's this little train track above her head, and out comes this bucket full of green stuff, and she's like, "Oh, the Admiral sent me a bucket of instant repair."
I mean, hey, people were like, "Yeah, I appreciate that," because that was straight from the game. They're like, "Yes," So a lot of people like that.
I thought it was kind of funny, "Yay, green goo that instantly heals you."
Yeah.
And then we see Fubuki and Akagi have lunch together, and you find out Akagi likes to eat a ton. We're talking Goku levels of food. And she just they eat and have fun together, and she goes back to Fubuki goes back to her room and is telling her roommates about it, and that's how that episode ends. I mean, it was this episode was really just character development for Fubuki, and a little bit just establishing some of the other side characters about what they like to do. I mean, it's a solid episode. It's definitely going to be another 3.5 in my book. I mean, just because there's not a whole lot that happens. I mean, overall, there's not a whole lot that happens. It's pretty just character development. And that's in no way a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, where would you score this?
It was another good episode. The animation and art stayed true to the first episode as well. No action here, more so just a training montage was really all it was. It was just missing, 80s music. Is really all it was missing, because that's really what this episode was just training for the main character. God knows what her name is, whatever. Other than that, yeah, I mean, it was a fine episode. I mean, I'd probably give it a 3. I wouldn't give it a 3.5, yet, at least from what I remember. It was good, but like he said, nothing really happened in terms of almost anything. I guess it was some nice training stuff, but yeah, it was. I mean, I'm not gonna say the show is bad in any way. I think it's been solid so far, despite what anyone says. So I would definitely give episode 2 a 3 out of 5.
I mean, as far as this episode goes, it did have of the 3 episodes out right now, it did have one of my favorite moments, and that was just simply Shimakaze shows up in the classroom and actually speaks, and I think she had one of the funniest lines, even though it's the only time she's spoken thus far in the show. And her being my favorite character as far as KanColle goes, it was really nice to see her. And the fact that she's in the opening and, you get a whole, the whole Shimakaze booty thing, that's, A+ in my book.
Yeah, definitely. So what about, and so finally, I think we already explained episode 3 before. So, what were your thoughts on that one?
Well, episode 3 is pretty much a straight battle. The Torpedo Fleet 3 and the 3rd Torpedo Squadron and the 4th Torpedo Squadron, they get deployed to go on a mission, and what they want to do is capture W Island. So, one of the big things that in this episode that is really just kind of, we see that this battle does not go the way it was planned, but we're introduced to Kurosagi. She is the sister ship for Mitsuki. During Mitsuki's first battle, Kurosagi saved her in a way. She got hurt and she stayed with her. So one of the big things in this episode was to make sure you don't leave things unsaid. Tell people thank you, tell people you love them, tell people that you care about them, and it was something that Mitsaki had never said to Kurosagi. And unfortunately, she never gets the chance because she is sunk by a bomber near the end of the episode. And this particular instance was important, I thought, because I didn't think they were going to kill anybody off in this show.
It was a big question mark for everybody.
If I really just because of the lightheartedness, I didn't think that it would kill anybody. So it was just kind of a shock, and it was nice to see that they were willing to take that risk. And as far as that goes, this episode gets a 4.5 in my book.
Yeah, it was a solid episode, and I liked the fighting a lot. Because I do still think their equipment and stuff is really cool. Like I said, I mean, sure, things like Strike Girls are interesting because they have guns and things that help them fly, but I think the water skates and all this, like, ship stuff on them is even more unique and cooler. And I think this episode was really good. I mean, and I didn't even know myself that they were going to kill someone off or sink them. I thought maybe they'd save them at the last second because that's what they kind of made it look like. But nope, she sunk. And it was quite a dramatic finish to the episode. I mean, they changed the ending to, some, sad song. And there was a sunset and it was dramatic lighting. And again, the art and animation was solid and the music was strong. And it was just, a really nice package, and I would give this a 4. I think it was really, really good episode, and, lots of development, and I think the lesson that the older girl, I can't remember her name, the lesson that she taught them was a really, nice lesson, and I think that was, just really wrapped between the slice of life kind of stuff and the action stuff. Really not, it all just meshed together very well, and solid episode, definitely.
Opening, ending wise for the show, Todd?
The opening is excellent. The song is amazing. Easily one of the best, if I'm not really sure, maybe the best song. It's either that or Rolling Girls, really. Yeah, the song is just awesome. I just absolutely love it. And even though that a lot of the animation used in the opening is cut from episodes, I would say a majority of it, not all of it. It was all synchronized very, very well to the song, especially the end where the two girls shoot their arrows and they turn into planes. Really excellent. Just, despite, a lot of shows using actual animation specifically for the opening, this one shows that you can cut together stuff that we've already seen and make it look really, really nice. And they did. And they really did. And I think it's excellent. As for the ending, honestly, we've only seen it once and I don't even remember it. So I don't even care about the ending.
Yeah, it was because they did change the ending in episode 3. So, but I mean, as far as both those endings were, I felt the episode 3 ending really, really fit the mood for it. And the ending, for episode 2, again, I just feel it fits the theme of the show. It does a really good job.
And I think that can lead us into Yatterman Night.
Oh, Yatterman Night.
Yeah, this plot is so fucking convoluted at times to me.
What, for Yatterman Night?
Just the premise in general.
I feel that Yatterman Night is one of the more original shows. I mean, well, then again, I guess character-wise, I feel like it's really original. But again, it's kind of the hero's journey type story.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to see that, how many times do we see a story where the heroes have become the bad guys and the bad guys have become the heroes? I mean, besides Despicable Me.
I was gonna say Megamind, but Megamind's a little bit different. But not too often. I think this is a nice spin on the '70s series that aired. But yeah, episode 1, we meet Leopard, which, God, don't even get me started on that name.
I think it's pronounced Leopard.
Leopard.
Yes.
Still not a girl's name.
I didn't think so either. So.
It follows her. We kind of get the story going here to see who they are. They're the descendants of Duranbo, which is Duranjo, and her two servant guys, sidekicks, I suppose. And they were the evil villains in the 1970s Yatterman series, and the Yattermans were the good guys. And they're living, the Yattermans are in a happy kingdom with safety and food and all that fun stuff, while they were all banished to a terrible wasteland with really, nothing out there. It's kind of trashy. And it starts off with, the mom paying a visit to her father's grave, Leopard's father's grave. She was still pregnant at the time. So it starts off with her pregnancy, goes to her being born, kind of does a few time skips, shows what she's like as a little girl. And it turns out that her mom starts to get very sick. So, and her mom had always told her that the Yattermans were these wonderful people that could, help anybody if anybody asked. So she's like, well, let's go visit the Yattermans, ask for medicine. So her and the two servants, which I'm drawing a blank on their actual names.
Whose names?
The servants' names.
The servants' names. Do you want the? Okay, let's see.
Their real names.
Their real names. We have Elephantis, who's the big strong guy, and then Volt Kadzi. Volt Kadzi. I think that's
crazy names.
Yeah, they're hard to say even when they become Duranjo and Boyaki and Tanzara. I mean,
yeah, Tanzara and Boyaki. Yeah,
I think their names are easier to say when they decide to take on these personas.
Yeah, so they go to the Yatterman Kingdom, or at least they try, and it turns out they get shot at instead. And it appears that the Yatterman Kingdom has now become corrupt. And now they are, and then unfortunately her mother dies because she didn't get any medicine. And now Leopard has decided, or man, I just don't know what to say for her name, Leopard or whatever. She's decided to now take on the Duranjo name and form Duranbo once again as a force of good instead of evil to not really cleanse the Yatterman Kingdom, more like give them a forehead flicking,
yes.
finger flicking. Is really what she wants to do because of what they did to her mother.
Yeah. Well, her mom is the one that really instilled the whole forehead flicking thing into her mind, as that's what the Yatterman would do to you if you were bad.
So. Other than that, I mean, that's really as far as episode 1 goes. And honestly, this episode, this series really does a balancing act of lighthearted comedy and really sad drama. So, Jeremy, what were your thoughts on episode 1?
As far as episode 1 goes, aside from the little girl's name, whether it's Leopard, Leopard, again, not a girl's name.
Yeah.
I really, really like this show. I mean, I almost like it more than I'm liking KanColle right now. It's just different. I mean, it's hard to really, really put it into words on how I feel about this. The first episode, it's really, not a lot of action or anything, but it just sets this world, the backstory for this world up, and for me, having that, background information as far as, why things are the way they are is really important in a story for me. And I think they did a great job setting that up. And the show just gets better with every episode that comes out for it. And I really want this show to keep the momentum that it builds with episode 1. So as far as episode 1 goes, I think I'm going to give this episode a 5.
Yeah, I think it was a solid episode in terms of storytelling and character introducing. That's really what episode 1s are all about. And I think it did a great job. It really did. I like the art and animation that came with it. I think it's very nice. I think the animation goes from good to great, depending on where they are in the story. I do love the art as well. In terms of a first episode, I think this was one of the best of the season. I would give it personally I think I'd give it a 4 out of 5. I think it's one of the better ones this season, like I said, and I definitely enjoy the story of where they're coming from, where they're kind of like on this road to redemption, kind of like where their family stands a little bit, and I like the characters. I think they are all very charming in their own way, and yeah, I think it was a solid first episode.
Just kind of a thought on this show, though. Well, just on the season as a whole, while we're talking about Yatterman Night here. Is this the season of shows that destroy the moon?
Why did this one try to
destroy
the moon?
No, one of the very first things you see in this is that there's all these, that the moon explodes and that all the rocks falling to Earth, those are pieces of the moon. And then the moon is left in the shape of this giant skull.
Oh, I guess I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I guess I just don't remember. That was a while, it's 2 weeks ago, so. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, I guess I remember the chaotic scene at the beginning. But yeah, this series just, like I said, does a balancing act of lighthearted comedy and drama, and I think it does an alright job. I think a series that does it better was Akame ga Kill. I think it did a lot better, for me personally. I think this series kind of comes off as weird sometimes. Like at times I feel like I should laugh, and other times I'm like, man, this is kind of too sad to really laugh at. So hopefully it gets better as time goes on, but like I said, it's doing an okay job right now.
So we move into episode 2 with this, and we see Leopard, Leopard, and her new Duranbo gang, as they figure out the way for them to sneak into the Ottoman Kingdom. They decide to use an abandoned train tunnel. You see Boyaki, he makes this kind of minecart as Taranza clears the tunnel, and it's just kind of this little wacky adventures. They go through the tunnel and finally get up to top, and they battle with the Yattermen that shot at them at the wall in the first episode, and they find out that they're robots. And then there's this giant stork, a robot that comes in and as more Yattermen and Yattermen bots show up and start fighting them, and we see them, they've got this forehead flicking mecha that they just kind of keep just flicking the other robots with.
That was really good.
I thought it was a really, just kind of a charming, funny little contraption that they had come up with to fight the Yattermen with.
I think this episode kind of has a lot of throwbacks to Team Rocket. If anyone watched the original Pokemon series or Pokemon in general, this is really, really, really Team Rocket-esque.
I felt that the way they introduced the Yattermen in the first episode, that was Scream Team Rocket for me, because I was just waiting for them to go prepare for trouble. But yes, the robots in episode 2 are very Team Rocket-esque.
Well, I mean, and so's their getaway thing. I mean, they shoot out on a bike and they have to pedal to fly and stuff, and then it falls apart, or I can't remember if it was one of the Yatterman guys or if it was them that gets blasted off again. They do the little ding thing, the star. I believe they did that in this episode, but yeah.
I mean, what would you score episode 2?
Episode 2, I think it takes a little dip in quality, so I would give it a 3.5. Not to say that it was bad, but it just didn't stay up to par with episode 1. And I think this allows the servants, Boyaki and Tanzra, to shine a little bit. Boyaki can create, shit out of almost anything, and Tanzra is super strong. And I think their misadventures through the tunnel when they go underwater and and they almost drown is really funny. I think the comedy was much more for a lack of a better word, better in this in this episode. It was more out there, and I liked it a lot. You know, it was really nice. And that's really all I can say about it so far. It was a nice episode, but I just think it wasn't up to par with episode 1.
I'd agree. It did take it seemed I thought there was a lot more comedy in it. I felt that the story did take a little bit of a dip. So I'm gonna give it a 4. But I don't think it's a bad episode by any means. I mean, but it did seem to drop a little bit. But it was nice to see them get a little bit of payback against the Yatterman that had shot at them, even if it was with a giant hand.
Yeah. But now we move on to episode 3, which at the end of episode 2, they found a house where after they were running from the Yatterman, I guess, robots, they found a house to take refuge in, which appeared empty. And I guess they all got naked.
Well, they had to,
awkwardly enough. They had to dry their clothes.
Yeah, they jumped in a river.
So they were drying their clothes, and then somebody comes home, and it turns out it is this blind girl, whose name escapes me.
Net.
Alan.
Yeah.
I think they call her Allie.
Yeah, they call it Allie.
Yeah. So this girl named Allie comes in, and to Duranjo, or Leopard, she's very, very, very much like her mother. So she kind of grows an immediate attachment on her, and it turns out Allie has been, looking for angels, and since she's blind, she thinks that Duranbo they're angels. So, and that's how episode 2 really ends. So luckily they were, they're fine. The person who actually lives in this house, they're kind of allowed to stay there. So like I said, she's blind, and they stay at her house, and then it turns out, another character comes in, which is her childhood friend, who also has a weird name.
Galina. Galina.
Galina or something. So he comes home, and obviously he freaks out, and the Yatterman robots catch up with him and are asking questions to see if they've seen him anywhere. And it seems that, what's his name again? Galina?
Yeah.
All right, we'll just say Galina for now until we figure out what the right thing is. Galina, he uses dice in his pocket. He just grabs it, and if it's an odd number, he does one thing. If it's an even number, he does another thing. Well, it turns out he must have pulled, an even or an odd number, whatever, it is, and he decides to, instead of turn them in because he knows he's hiding them, he decides to, keep them instead. So he just kind of leaves everything up to this dice that he has in his pocket. So on and so forth, they kind of get to know each other a little bit, and it turns out that, Allie's parents had died in the Yatterman kingdom after they had been taken away. So she's kind of in this state of where she doesn't want to believe that her parents are dead, that the angels have just taken them for now, and she wants to go find the angels. So it's really a tragic story with this girl and this guy who's trying to take care of her and try to wake her up, because I think his parents died as well. So as the story goes on, the Yattermans do finally catch up with them, because the Duranbo decides to leave in the morning, thank them for letting them stay the night. And like I said, the Yattermans catch up with them, and I think Galina was inspired by what they were trying to do with the Yattermans, and he creates them new clothes as they were sleeping the previous night. So they put those on, kick some ass, and the Allie and Galina decide to come with them to give the Yattermans the forehead flicking, of a lifetime. So now they have added 2 more people to their group, and they were able to barely escape from the Yattermans, and now we are finally moving on with the plot and going towards the Yatterman kingdom.
The Yattermetropolis.
Yeah, Yattermetropolis is really what it is. So, and hopefully along the way they can finally wake Allie up from her from the delusion she's living in. So again, it's balancing a lot of lighthearted comedy and this dramatic stuff together. So what did you think of the episode?
Well,
Jeremy?
It'll be interesting to see whether or not Allie becomes a liability to the group, considering she's blind. So that'll be interesting. And I really want to see what Galena does as a member of the group moving forward. The episode itself, um, it's just more. We see Leopard, Leopard. We see her kind of develop a little bit. She realized, yes, she has this, kind of instant noticing that Allie looks like her mother, but she kind of distances herself from it near the end, stating that she's not my mother, and they're moving on.
Which is good character development for her, honestly.
Yeah,
For someone so young.
to realize that her mother is gone. She's kind of after she's being forced to be an adult in a way. And we do again see that Boyaki can pretty much make anything out of nothing. He makes an alarm clock out of random bits and bobs he found on the floor in the basement. And then he builds some random machine that's just meant to explode and launch a bicycle with wings into the air.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
So, I think we're moving forward, greatly with this episode. I feel that it picked itself back up from episode 2. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I'm really hoping for some less generic villains, like from the Yattermen. I'm hoping that they'll be, someone else other than just a bunch of robots chasing them around for now.
Yeah. I'm in agreement, and I think the episode or the quality went back up, and I would give this episode a 4. And yeah, it was good. It was a good episode, and again, it's kind of trying to balance the the lightheartedness and the dramatic stuff together, and it's really is pretty sad that Allie's predicament, or I guess, or really more so her, the way she's living now is really quite tragic, and hopefully, Duranbo starts changing lives, all 3 of them. I think, and again, and I just can't say enough, I think they're really, really, really interesting characters, and I'm just kind of glad we're moving on and going to a new location, because we have been seeing the same backdrop of dead trees for 3 episodes, and I am definitely ready for, like, a new place, because plot-wise, it almost feels like we've gone nowhere.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping in episode 4 next week it really jump starts to whole new location and really gets this plot moving forward. So good episode, nice action, silly action at the end there. Really loved the end where, because she's really got that generic or excuse me, I should rather say cliched villain laugh down where they're flying away and the bike falls apart. And again, very Team Rocket-esque, and I love it because I've grown up with Team Rocket, and it was a great episode. I would definitely give that one a 4.
And I'm gonna give it a 4.5. I feel that it picked itself up from episode 2, but it's just not quite back up to that 5 again. So we'll see where it goes from here.
Opening and ending-wise, the opening I think it's entertaining, and it has nice animated scenes, and the song is pretty nice. Ending, it seems to follow Allie and Galena, so it appears that they are now prominent main characters now as well. So, and it was okay. And I guess it kind of gives a little flashback, I guess, what they were like, maybe, or what they wish to be, what their happiness is. So it's kind of hard telling, but yeah. It was an okay ending, but I think the opening was pretty good.
And I really liked the opening. The ending, I just really just didn't care for.
Yeah.
I just kind of felt that the ending was kind of boring to me.